What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we are building an entire Shiny web app using real data. Now this project is actually one that I've really just been wanting to build myself, but we're gonna be building it together. So I'm really excited to get into it. We're gonna be downloading real current data from Zillow. We're gonna be transforming that data, and then we're gonna be building an entire Shiny app with that data. If you watch the first two videos in the Shiny series, this is gonna go way above and beyond that, but it has a lot of the same fundamentals that we learned. It's just gonna be going a lot more in depth because now we're building a real Shiny app. This is gonna be the kind of project that you're gonna wanna share with everybody, your friends, your family out on LinkedIn, saying, hey, look what I built. This is really, really cool. Now, this is gonna be a longer video because this is gonna be a full project. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. All right, so before we jump into the Shiny app, let's actually look at where we're getting this data from. I'm getting this from Zillow Research Data. You can have this link, it's in the description, so you can come and download the latest data set. But it has a ton of data in here, just some really, really, really good information that they're collecting and giving out. And so you can come in here and you can download the data that you want. What we're going to be looking at is specifically this area right here. We're going to be downloading this for sale inventory, new listings, and median list price. When you're downloading them, be sure to get the smooth all homes monthly, and then for new listings, smooth all homes monthly, and then download those. Now I already have those right here, and I'm just going to pull up one. You'll notice as we pull them up, if we go over, they're all very, very, very similar, just with different data. You'll notice the numbers are changing. But let's look at this one. This is Metro new listings. So these are the how many homes are listed per month. So we have March of 2018. And if we go all the way to the right, you can see that this is current as to when I'm recording this. So this is April's data and has all the current numbers. And if you get this, you'll have the most recent data. Now, the only really thing to look in here is that we have this region name. This is the actual location. We have the region type, and then we have state name. Really, in this project, this web app that we're going to be using, we're just using the state name, and then we have our data. Now, I've already written some of the code for this because, again, this is not a full lesson on pandas and matplotlib or plotly, which is what we're using for more interactive visualization. But this is not a full tutorial on that. We're focused mostly on how to build the Shiny app. So I'm assuming that you have gotten in, you've gotten your data, you've made your visualizations and whatnot, and now you just want to create your web app, and that's what we're going to be focusing on, although we will get into some code as well. Let's come over here and let's take a look at everything we have so far. So this is what I'm going to call our boilerplate code, although it's not very boilerplate. This is just our template. This is what we're starting with. I'm going to walk through all of this really quickly to take a look at what we've done so far, kind of what I'm giving you to start the project. And then what we're going to be doing for probably the next hour or so is building out our web app with all of the things that we've gotten here. And we'll have to create some custom functions, and we'll be doing a lot of different stuff. But we're going to be building a really, really cool web app. So let's go ahead and get started. These are all of the different libraries and packages that we're going to be using. You can see there's a lot in there. We also have one that we created. We're pulling this in from this .py file over here called state choices. I'll explain this when we get there. We can do this another way. And when I was initially building this out, we can just take this and we can filter on this and take the, remove the duplicates and order it and do all that. But it doesn't work as well, is what I found. And so I decided to do it this way instead. And then we need our requirements. So be sure you have that. But we're just bringing everything in. We're reading in our files the same way we did in our last lesson, where we read them in with this parent path, so that when we actually deploy this, then it's going to read in that file properly and everything's going to be good. So we have those three different files. Again, similar data, but you just have to read them in, and we'll go from there. Next, I've already created these kind of helper functions, is what we're going to call them. For some of these date time conversions, we're going to be creating some time series data because that data really lends itself to doing that. So we're going to be creating some time series data. And with that, we need to convert this string, which it is a string right now, or when we pull it in, it's a string because these are numeric. So we're going to convert this string into dates. And so we're just converting them into dates, and we'll be using these functions that we created later on in this project. And then lastly, this is actually what I would consider the simplest part, which is we just created our visualizations. You can do this with Matplotlib, you can do this with Seaborn, you can do this with a bunch of stuff, but we did it with Plotly. The reason is because Plotly is interactive. So in our web app, I wanted people to be able to, interact with the data and click into it and look at stuff. And so we're going to keep that in. Now let's look at what we're actually doing within our visualization. We are taking our data and we are grouping based off of that state name. Let me just show you right here. So we have this state name. So we have all this data. We want all the ones that are Texas, which are right here. We want it all to be grouped by Texas. And then for this data specifically, this is new listings. We're going to be adding these numbers. So let's go back. We're getting the mean, but that's because this is the list price. But for sale, which is this one right here, this is our sum. So this is our for sale inventory data frame that we created right up here, for sale inventory for our inventory. And then for new listings, if we go down, we have our new listings data frame. And so we're doing the same thing on every single one, except for the data where it's the inventory and the new listings, we're doing a sum. And then right up here, this is the median listing price. And so what we're doing for that is we're actually taking the average of the median listing price. If we do sum, that wouldn't make sense because we'd just be adding the mean together, and then the median household price would be like 10 million for every state, and that'd be terrible. So that's what we're doing here. And then we come down here, and this is our actual visualization using Plotly, keeping it super simple. So this might look like a lot, but this actually, this is something that I know you guys can definitely do, especially if you've gone through my Pandas series. You should be able to understand this and definitely do this yourself. Now, we're about to do a ton of stuff. This is probably going to be one of the longer projects just on my channel, but it is, there's a reason for it. It's because it's going to be an amazing project to add to your portfolio. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, what we want to do before we really do anything is we want to visualize these, visualizations. We want to at least get them on our screen so then we can start formatting them nicely, and we can start getting some sidebar going and some nav panels and all these different things. And we're gonna have to do some custom stuff as well within that. So it's gonna get might get a little complicated, but if you stick with me, you'll understand it and it'll be really, really fun. Let's start off by creating our input select. And if we come back here, everything that we're gonna be pulling is from these components, or actually some of these are, if we go to Shiny Express, some of these are going to be ones that are only in here and aren't in the components page, because I just like the look of it a little bit better, or they had a better functionality than some of the other ones. And so something like navset card underline isn't one that they show in this components tab or the layout tab, but I like it. So that's what we're going to be using. Now let's come up here. We're going to come to input select. And we're going to be using this input select so that someone can choose the state that the visualization is going to represent. And so if we come back to our data, someone's going to be coming in here and they're going to say, okay, I want to look at all the New York, new listings. So we're going to do the sum of all the New York listings. So we already grouped our data in our visualization, but we want the input select. They should be able to specify that they want to choose New York. So what we're going to do, let's come back here. We're going to come in here and we're going to say UI.input_select, and we're going to call this the state. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be called. And I actually need to do it in quotes. So call this the state, and then we'll do a comma. And we're going to say filter by state. This is what the person will actually see. And then their choices. So the choices is an actual parameter that we're going to pass through. Now you can do it two ways. And there's actually, you can do it both ways, and either way will be technically fine. But I'm going to show you how I originally thought of doing it, and then I found the better way to do it. The simpler way to do it is to just create this file with all just a list. That's all it is. A list of exactly how you want it. And we can do that right here. We'll say we have United States, AK, AL, AR. These are all the abbreviations for the state. And we can read that in, and we already have done that. And we did that right up here. So we would just say is equal to state choices. So we'd come right here, is equal to state choices. And that would be that. The other way of doing it, and I guess I'll just write it out real quick because it shouldn't take very long. But let's take the new sale data frame. Really what we need to do, there's two things. One is this is all of the United States. So if it's blank, it'll be United States. If not, it'll be all of these. So we actually do need to specify that. So we can fill it. We'll just say equal to. So we'll take our data frame and then we'll specify this column right here, which is state name. And you can either just write it out or not. And then we're going to say dot fill NA. And what are we going to fill it with? If it is empty, we are going to call this United States. So we're filling that blank value with United States. And then we're going to come right down here. We need to remove the duplicates. So let's come here and we'll say is equal to, we're just overwriting the data frame. We probably shouldn't do that. We'll do data frame 2 up here. But we're just going to drop the duplicates in that state name. So we're going to take the state name right here. And we'll say drop duplicates. So we're going to say drop underscore duplicates. And then we need to sort them. So then we come right down here. We'll say is equal to, and then we do dot sort underscore values. And then we need to put in a list. So we'll say to list. And so this would be the list that we would pass through into here. Now I'm going to save these because we can test this out later once we get everything up and running. But we're not going to do that right now. So we'll do that in a little while. I'll show you kind of the difference between the two and why we did this versus just creating our own list with the data. But let's keep going. So now we have this input select. So they're going to be able to select the state that they want. And so what we need to do is we need to take this state. We need to bring it right down here. Now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to do basically the same logic that we did in the last lesson. We're going to say, if somebody inputs something, then give them this. If somebody inputs this, then give them this. Now, here's why we need to do this. Because we have an option in the state choices that isn't actually in the state name. And I'm going to explain that in just a sec. If somebody chooses the United States is not right here. It's blank. And so if they choose United States as their option in the select menu, then we need to select everything that's not that one, essentially. And that's because we're using this state choices right here, which is just a list. And so if we had done it the other way, if we had used this, then we wouldn't need to do that. But again, it wouldn't work as well. And I'll show it to you later. But let's just write out what we need, and then we'll kind of visually see what we're needing to do. Let's just call this data frame. We'll say the data frame is equal to, and then we're going to take this data right here. So we're going to say within this, then we need to select the state name. So then we'll do just like this. We'll say state name. So for the state name, we want that to be equal to, and then we're going to say input dot state. We need to open our parentheses and close this bracket right here and get rid of that bracket. So what we're doing is we're creating this data frame where when someone inputs the state right up here, so when someone clicks on that input select, they're going to select the state. We're then filtering based off of that. And then we're going to pass this data frame right down here. And so let's go ahead and let's try to render this. So we're going to say and we're going to do render. Then we need to say @render plotly. Now this one is specific to plotly. As you can see, we're using a plotly visualization. So let's see if this works. Let's go ahead and Control S. And let's see what comes up right over here. Now it looks like our visualization's not working, but let's come over here. And this worked properly, but this isn't pulling up properly. Now, that may be something that we need to fix. But what we can do is let's put a data grid under here because we're eventually going to have that anyways. Let's put a data grid under here and let's see if this piece is working. This input piece is working. So we're going to say and we're going to do render dot data frame. We're going to say define, and this is for the list price. So we'll do list price data. And then we'll go into it and we'll say return then we'll say render dot data grid right here. And what do we want to render? We want to return all of the data. And we could, what is this data? This is the list price. So let's come up here. Let's take our list price. Let's say median listing price data frame. We're going to come right down here and we can just put that right in here and that'd be perfectly fine. But we want to be able to, give me one sec. Let me check this. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. I figured out the issue. This actually is working. Okay. And this actually reminds me of why we did this state choices and what we need to do to fix that. United States is not an option in the state name. So if we come over here, this is not an option. United States is not in the state name. So what we need to do is create a little logic here. So we're going to come in here. This worked great. I'm actually really happy that it's working. But what we're going to do is we're going to say if, and it needs to be lowercase. So if the input dot state is equal to, and if they choose United States, which is going to be the default value because it's the first one in our .py file or our list, if you want to just say in our list. So if they choose United States, and I need to spell that right, then we just need to come over here and we need to say, if they choose it, then return all of the data that is not United States, right? Return all the other data. So we can actually copy this right here. So we'll say, if it is United States, then we'll say, take everything that is not. And so we'll do exclamation point equal sign is not United States. And actually within the state name, it's blank. So maybe we should be putting it like this is not blank. So if it's not blank, take all the other data. And so within this, we're going to take everything that's not this. So we're going to take all the numbers from anything that's not blank. And this is the only blank one right here. So that's just a little piece of it there. And then we're going to say else, and then we'll do this one. And so that should fix our issue. Let's go ahead and save this. We'll see if the United States renders properly. And I said equal to instead of equal, which is equal in Python. So let's go ahead and fix that mistake. And it looks like that didn't work for the United States. This is all still working. So that logic still works, but maybe it is United States here. Let's take a look. Let's just try it out. And it looks like our data frame object is not callable for this data frame right down here, but we'll take a look at that in just a second. All right, well, we'll come back to this piece because this piece is working properly. And I'm pretty sure I just need to get rid of that to fix the data frame issue. That should come up here in just a sec. There we go. So now here's our data down here. And if we come in here and we select one, now what I'm actually thinking is the reason why it's not working for United States is because as I'm saying, don't select the United States. Then what it's doing is it's trying to pass through multiple values into this visualization, which again should work because then it should be all of them. It should be New York, California, Illinois, Texas, all of them. So actually, I feel like this is correct, but we'll come back to that because, we need to keep moving forward. But here's what we have so far. We have our filter by state. So they can come in here. They can say, okay, I live in South Carolina. Let me come in here. South Carolina, these are the median list prices. And maybe we need some type of title in there in a little bit, but these are the median list prices back in let's say May of 2018 is 232,000. And as we've gone, you can see it's all the way up to right about 312 at its peak in July, June timeframe of 2023, about 322,000. That was the median price. So pretty expensive. And as you can see, clear line up. I'm going to go to California. I want to see what California looks like. So this is the median price in California, which is 676,000. So that is pretty expensive. Now, if we want this to react in the same way, we would just need to add the same logic. So we could come in here. We could even copy this. Maybe this would help us solve this issue that we're having with this piece. Why not? Why don't we try it? So we'll come in here and we'll actually do it just like this. We'll pass through the median listing price data frame right in here, so that is what's displayed. But if the input state is equal to this, we're going to pass through our data frame into the data grid. So now let's try running this really quick because this might help us solve this, honestly. So for the United States, it's not working. Obviously, we figured that out. But for Arkansas, I believe that's Arkansas, for AK, now it's filtering properly. This is our data that we're looking back in 2018. Here's the numbers, and we're taking the average of that. We're taking the mean. And so this is all working properly. For whatever reason, the United States isn't, and we're going to solve this. So I was trying to figure out this United States really quick, and I did a little bit of debugging. I'm going to show you how I figured this out, but it's not anything too crazy. I want to look at the actual data that's coming from this. So I'm just going to pass this through right down here real quick, just so we can look at the data grid. So we're going to look at this, put this right in here. So just the data, that's all we're doing. And so we're not filtering it or anything. If we choose Arizona, it's not passing that through because that's the data frame, right? We're just looking at the raw data. Notice there's no state name called anything. So actually that filtering that we were doing before didn't matter. What we need to do is we don't need to do any filtering on this state name at all, although I'm not sure 100% why it was causing that issue. Coding is never an exact science. But what we can do is if it is United States, we just pass through the whole data frame. We just pass through this whole thing. Let's give this a go. We're going to see if this works. So let's go ahead and let's try this. I just got rid of all the stuff down here in the data frame. Let's go ahead and run this. And there we go. This one is working. So we're just going to copy this whole thing and we're going to replace this down here. And then both these should be working properly. Let's go ahead and save this. And we don't actually need to use this price for data frame. We should use the original data frame. Now we're doing median price. We're going to use this median listing price. And we'll come right down here, place that right there, and right there. And that should work. And so now we have all of our data. But then if we choose Arizona, there we go. So this is, that was kind of the hardest part we've had so far. We haven't gotten crazy far into this, but this is looking really, really good. And so we have all the data. We could also pass, we could have, if you want to, you could make this into a function and you can pass it through down here and there, or you can just copy this and you can bring it down here if you really want to. And then you could do the exact same thing. So you could do it just like this. And there we go. Hit save. This will run once we actually do this right. And there we go. So you can do it either way. I think I actually prefer with the raw or the initial data frame. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to get rid of all this. But I think it looks better like this because you can see all the data. That's what I personally prefer. So it's up to you which one you want to put in there. Now, this works. And this works. So really quickly, we are going to apply that to our next two data visualizations. And so now that we did the first one, it should be a lot easier to do the next ones. We'll render this as Plotly and we'll render the data frame and then we'll add in our other stuff. Actually, pull this whole thing in here. Now we need to change this median listing price because we're not doing the median listing price. This is the for sale. So we need to call this for sale data. And we need to come back up to our data sets and we'll get our for sale inventory data frame. Let's come right down here and we need to put that one in here. And then what we need to also pull down is the logic that we've used. Let's get rid of this or move this over for just a second. We need to bring in this logic as well. So we're going to bring this down, place it right here. But instead of this one, we'll be passing through this one. And we can't forget the data frame. So that one should be working now. Down here should be working. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's see if it actually is working. That's pretty important. All right, we have United States. Here's our first visualization, data frame. second visualization, and data frame. We're rocking and rolling. Just know we're just getting everything working. And then once we start really formatting, we're gonna make this look really, really nice. So don't worry about how it's looking right now. That's all part of the process. And then actually we're gonna add one more input up here for date ranges. So I want the user to be able to customize their date range. And then once we do all of that, then we'll start really working with some of the layout stuff and really make this start looking really nice. Let's copy this again, but now we're working with listings. So let's call this listings data. Let's go back up. Let's take our new listings data frame, just for the data grid at least. So we'll go right here, right there, and right there. That's great. And then we'll copy this, give it a little room just so you can see it. And we'll bring this down right here. And there we go. Now what we need to do is we'll pass this through. Boom, boom, whoops, boom, boom. And then we pass through the data frame as our parameter for our data. So now this one should be up and running as well. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's see if all of them are working properly. I'll drag it as far over as I can. So we have this right here. We have the data. We have our visualization. We have data. And our next visualization didn't show up because we didn't say render plotly. Oh boy. That was my bad. All right, let's go ahead and save this and run this again. Once we have this up and we get the next UI input, that's 90% of it. And so we're going to be going strong. So there we go. There's that one, and there's our third one. So this is all really looking great. Now the last UI input is going to be the date range, and we'll have to make it dynamic again for all of these. So we'll have to connect them to each of our visualizations and the data as we go. So, or you know what? We could just keep it this and not, because this data is sitting like this. So we'd have to convert it and a bunch of other stuff. So maybe we will only change it for the visualizations, and it'll make sense later because we aren't really displaying this front and center in the final state of it. So I think we'll be okay just to connect it to our visualizations. So let's come back up. We have a lot of code up here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create another UI. So now we're going to say UI.input, and there we have input slider. Now for our input slider, we need several things. First, we need to give it a name. So we'll call it date, and we actually need to do some quotes. We'll do date range. We'll call it date range. But what do we want to visually call it for the user? We'll say filter by date range. And then we need to pass in a few different things, like the minimum value for the slider, the maximum value for the slider, and then what the current value is. So we can do that all in one line, but I'm going to tab down. So we'll say the minimum value. So we'll say min is equal to, then we're going to open it up. Now, if we go back into our data, the minimum value is this value right here. And then also, if we go all the way to the end, this value right here. But these are not formatted well because it's in a weird format that Pandas isn't going to really understand. So we need to use this little helper function that we created earlier to convert it into a string to date. So we're going to take this string to date and we'll say is equal to, and we're going to do string to date, open up our parentheses, and we'll pass through that very first value. And so let's come back, take this right here, and we'll come down. Now, what's going to happen is it's actually going to pass through this and reformat it. And we actually need this new format. So instead of the slashes, we're going to need dashes. And it looks like the year and then it's month and day. So we actually need to put this at the beginning. Just some small things to be thinking about a little bit. Now we'll come down, we'll do the max, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So we can copy this over just like this. I think I need a comma after this. But we'll do the max, and let's go back and get the maximum value. I think I knew what it was, but better just to make sure we have it. So we'll bring this in. So I'm just going to do 2024 430. We'll do 4 and 30. And this looks great. Now, in order to pass this into our visualization right here, and that's, what we're doing. Actually, we can save this. Let's go ahead and save this. It won't be attached to anything, but we can at least see visually what it looks like. And actually, we forgot one more. We need a value. So let's get our value going in really quickly, and then we'll be good to go. So this one's a little bit different. We need to take this string to date, and we need to pass it through with list comprehension or for loop, whatever you want to do. But we're going to do string to date x, and then we'll say for x in, and then we need to give it this range. So we need to give it this exact range. So we can copy this, and then we'll do a comma, and we'll give it the end. So that's the start and the end. And that's so that when they're changing the ranges, it'll be more dynamic. Let's just save this really quickly. And I need to put this in brackets because this is, in fact, a list. And a parentheses. Man, I'm just making a little small errors in here. Let's go ahead and try this one now. And a parenthesis. Okay. Yeah, the parenthesis needs to be on the outside, I believe. Let's try saving that again. And there we go. And so what I was saying is we're passing through these two different values. And so now we can do different ranges. And we can go just like this. So what we need to do is we need to actually pass this into our visualization, but it's going to be a little bit trickier than just passing it through, which is why we created our other helper function, which is the filter by date. So we're going to bring down this filter by date. We put it right down here because actually you could go either way. You can either put it here because we're going to filter by the date and then pass through this into this logic. And so it'll be filtering on two separate things, both the state and the date range. So it doesn't matter the order actually, but we'll put it right above it. And so this is a function that we're calling. And what's it going to do? It's going to sort the date range, and then we're passing through some options. One is data frame and one is the date range. And so this date range is going to be the input from whoever is placing in that input. We want the input to pass through, and then we're just specifying what the data frame is. So let's come right back down here. So we're going to say this right here is equal to, and you can do it kind of however you want, actually. You can name this something different and pass it through, but we don't need to do that right now. We're going to pass through our data frame, and then we're going to do a comma, and that's going to be our input dot, and we call that date range. So input dot date range. We're going to pass this through. So now this should be integrated into this one. Let's go ahead and save this. Looks like we're getting an invalid syntax. I think I might have messed something up earlier. Let's go ahead and try this. Should look a little more like that. Maybe I pasted something where I shouldn't have. We'll see when we run this. It looks like we need a colon right here. Making a few mistakes, but we live and we learn. So let's see if this is in fact dynamic when we are running this. So let's try moving this towards 2021. And there we go. So now the first one is in 7/13 of 2021. That is perfect. So we are working. We're cooking with fire over here. And so now we can keep them just like that. And now we can integrate this into all the other ones. And we're just going to do the visualizations. I don't think we need it in the data, me personally. So, but you can. Hey, if you want to go above and beyond, I'm not going to stop you. In fact, I encourage it. Be better than me. How about that? So we'll just pass that through. It'll be through the exact same thing. And then we'll come down here and we'll pass this through as well. And whoops, we'll go right there. And let me go over. There we go. New listings, passing that through into this function. And we should be good to go. So now let's save this. Let's make sure it's reactive and dynamic for what we're actually changing. Let's try both filters. So I'm going to go short. Let's do 2021. Let's make sure they're all working. That one's not working. And that one's not working. So we actually need to fix that. Let's see what's going on here. And that's because we forgot to change this. So we need this new listings right here. And then up here, we need it to be called this. All right, now it should work. Hey, listen, I made plenty of mistakes already in this project, but we live and we learn, don't we? So now let's change this. Let's go to 2021, 2021, and 2021. Perfect. So we are doing really, really good. Let's just check one real quick. Let's check California. Excellent. Excellent. And this is reactive to the state only. So this is all of our California data in here, but it's not reacting to the date. And so I think that's even better, just so you can actually see the historical. So I think this is great. So now what we're going to do is we are really going to make this look a lot better. Because if you pull this up into the actual website, it's not very pretty. But we're going to change all that, and we're going to make this look a ton better so that you feel confident sharing this and being like, man, this guy really knows what he's doing. So let's go back out of here. Let's pull this up. Let's go all the way back to right about here. The first thing that we can do is just give it a header, and that's going to make it look really nice. And actually, let's do it actually, when you start doing everything, it all kind of goes together anyways. But we'll do UI.page_ops, and we'll just give this a name. So we're going to give this a title, and we're going to say US Housing App. So we'll call it the US Housing App. We can run this and just take a look at it. Should be pretty simple. So there we have the US Housing App. Next thing I want to do is I want to put both of these filters into a sidebar because this doesn't look super good just as is. So I want to place this into a sidebar. In fact, I just realized I never showed you this. I'll put this code, I'll leave this code in there so you can, keep that and then pass this through into the state choices. And in fact, you know what? I'm not going to save it for later. I'm not going to let someone else do my job for me. Let's pass this through really quick into these state choices and see what it looks like real quick. So we're going to, remember we filled that. Now the default is Arkansas, but if we want to choose United States, it's this NAN up here. So we would need to work on that. And actually, we would need to rewrite some of our code in here to account for that. But what happens is we are filtering on the state names or state abbreviations, and we can still use them, but it's not going to be the default start like we have in state choices, which is why we did it this way. And it's just a little bit more intuitive. So I'm going to get rid of all this. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to rerun it so that we have what we're working with. Anyways, a little sidebar, but let's put this, speaking of sidebar, let's actually put all this stuff in a sidebar, because I don't like our filters just being out there. I want them to be looking nice. So what we need to do for that is with sidebar, actually it's UI sidebar, with UI.sidebar, and we need to open up our parentheses, do a colon, and tab these over. And I don't want two tabs here. Let's do a tab, there we go. Now let's get this back. Now all we should need to do is put a comma here potentially. Let's just run this and see what happens. See if there's any error in here. And there we go. So now we have these different options over here. And I might even label this. If we're really feeling wild, you can label this. You don't have to. We'll just type in filter options. Do it just like this. And I need a comma, don't I? I'm going to get an error. Oh, I'm not getting an error, but that doesn't look good. We're not feeling that wild. Let's go ahead and save this. This is looking better already, right? We have this sidebar. Now, in the previous lesson, when we were looking at this, what we did was we had the visualization on one page, and then in a separate page, we had the data. Now, you can do that, and that's perfectly fine. We could even have a different page for each visualization, and it's quite simple. It's not crazy hard to do, but I want to go above and beyond. I want to create something that looks really good, that really impresses people. So we're going to keep it all on one page. It's going to be a one-pager, one-page app, but you can make it as complicated as you'd like. In the last lesson, we were looking at components and layouts. We had multiple pages up here in this nav panel. But what we're going to do is we're going to combine this and this into kind of one piece, one visualization. So you can look at the visualization and then you can tab over and look at the data. And so you can tab over and it's all in one place. And then we scroll down, this other one will be in its own thing as well. And so it's going to look really, really nice and kind of smooth when we do it. And I think you'll be kind of wowed at how it looks. So let's come over. Let's do all the code for it. And in fact, we need to add 2 more things up here, and we'll get to that later. That's going to be a little bit more coding rather than, or writing, using pandas and creating some logic, because I want some cards up there. I think it'll look really nice. But let's do these really quick, and then we'll get to that after. So let's come in here, and not with the sidebar. We're going to go past that. We're going to go down just to the visualizations and our data frames. So we're going to come in here, and we're going to say with UI.nav set _card _ underline. Now this was an option. I need to say UI. This was an option that I talked about when we were over here. If we go to references in Shiny Express, come down, we have this nav set card underline. And so this is the one that we're actually going to be using. I thought it looked really nice. So we're going to be using this, and we need to give it a title. So we're going to come in here and we'll give this a title. And you say title is equal to, and call this the median list price. And we need to tab all of this over. So let's tab this. This is the data frame and this. We need a colon here. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, and we'll separate a little bit, we're going to do a nav panel. Now, a nav panel is typically at the top of here, but we're doing this within the nav set card underline. So we're going to come in here and say with, and we'll say UI dot, and we'll say nav panel. So now we're saying within this panel, we're going to have 2 separate cards. We're going to have this and right down here. So we're going to have the data frame, we're going to have the actual visualization. We want the visualization to be first, and so that's going to be at the top. But then the next page, if you call it a page, the next panel is going to be all the data. It should be really neat. So let's select all this. Let's tab this over. So we need to give this a name too. We'll call this plot. And then we'll come down here and we'll do the same thing. So we'll come right here. And this one is going to be our data. Or we could call it a table or really whatever we want. Let's go ahead and run this. And it looks like I'm missing some colons here and right here. And just like that, that's going to look a lot better. Let's bring it up into the full web app so we can kind of see what it's looking like. My computer is huge. I don't know if you knew that, but my screen is ginormous. So most likely on your screen, it's not going to look like this. But here's what we have. We have this median list price, and then we have the plot, and we can tab over to the table, and we can tab back and forth. So when we change this, let's go to Arizona. When we change this and we go to the table, the data's dynamically changing, right? But now we have this plot here. So you can have plot and the table. Now, what I was talking about before is we're basically creating this plot and table, but up in this page, so it's a completely separate part of the website. You don't have to do it. You can do it this way, which I think this looks really, really good. So let's come out of here. Let's go back. And we're going to do that exact same thing for all of those visualizations. And in fact, since we are going to copy and paste this, I'm going to add a little bit of extra stuff in here. Now up here, we brought in something called FA icons or an icon SVG. Those are for like different icons you can pull in and make it look really cool. So we're going to say, we're going to use that icon SVG, and we're going to pull in for at least the plot. We'll do a little visualization. Let's start making this look nice. We'll do chart dash line. And you can always just Google that and, look at the different stuff. But let's choose our icon for that one. And then for the table, we'll do a table. It's pretty simple. And let's try running this. And if we pull this over, you can already see it. Those are the little visualizations for our stuff. It looks really nice. And now we're going to pull this over and we're going to do the exact same thing for the other ones. So let's come over here. Let's copy this and we'll bring it into this one. And we'll bring this one over real quick as well. Place it right here. And we need to tab this over. And then we need to take all of this and tab it over twice. So let's do tab, tab. And then this one is going to be tabbed over twice as well. We'll do tab, tab. Let's copy all of this. We're going to bring it down to our last one. There we go. And we'll take this table, put it right here, tab the table over, or sorry, the UI nav panel piece, tab this over twice. We'll take this, tab this over twice, and let's go ahead and run it. And let's take a look. So now we have our median list price. This is not median list price. We need to rename that. But we have median list price, median list price, median list price. These are all our visualizations and the data associated with it. So now we just need to name them properly. This one right here is called, these are our new listings. So we'll say new listings. And if we go up, this is not the median. This is the home inventory. So we'll call this home inventory. And let's save that. And there we go. You can already see it's filtered. We don't have to see it, but that looks really good. So now we're really close. We're doing great. I think this needs a little bit extra. This is actually great stuff, but at the very top, we're going to add 2 extra stuff. You didn't ask for it, but that's okay because I'm going to give it to you anyways. So let's go back over here. It's always nice to have some type of like card at the top, not just straight into the visualizations, something that kind of gives some high level information. And there's going to be 2 things that we're going to do. So I'm going to put some comments here. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the price. So we have this median list price here, but we're going to take the median list price as it is currently, like the latest data. So in the latest data, what's the current list price? So this is going to be current, we'll say current median list price. The next one that we're going to be doing is going to be for home inventory. So we'll say home inventory, which is, let's see, the second one, the home inventory. So we want to see what's the change from 1 month to the most recent month. So from March to April, the second to last to the latest. We'll look at the percent change. So we'll look at percent change. Where's that percentage? There it is. Percent change. There we go. Now, this does require a little bit of writing things out, but it's going to look really, really nice. So let's go ahead and write it out first, and then we'll define it and run it, and then we'll make it look really nice and all that good stuff. So we'll render.ui, and within this render UI, you need to have that, we'll define our price. So this is going to be our current price. Now, this may seem really easy, because it's not, we're just trying to select the last price. But if you don't know how to do it, that's okay. I'll show you how to do it. And we can actually do this in one of 2 ways. We can actually use this data right here, or we could use the original data frame. I think it might be easier to use this. Let's bring this back a little bit. Go back 2, go back 2, go back 2. Because this data sits a little bit easier, so we can use the indexing a little bit easier. I really should have made this into a function. That would have saved a lot of time. But just ignore that. Pretend, I know what I'm doing. But let's just call this data frame is equal to, and we'll do that. So let's take this, and what we're going to do is when somebody filters right here, they're going to say, oh, I want Arkansas. We don't care about the date range. We just care about the very last date. So we do need to take in that input logic. And so we need to say for the data frame, we'll say data frame for that column. So that's going to be the state name. So for the state name, we're going to say it's equal to the input dot state. And that's from that input state right down here. Now we may actually need to move this under this. I'm not 100% sure actually. But we're going to put it right here because this is another part of the UI or another visualization. So it should be under the sidebar anyways. But we have our price. So now we're taking this input and we need to finish this real quick. Yeah, should have this at the end and this shouldn't be there. And then we take the data frame and we're going to say we want the last value. So we'll actually call this last value. So we'll say the data frame dot ilock. So we're accessing the index now. So we're just going to do -1
-1. So within that data, within this data frame, we're taking -1, -1, which is going to give us the very last value. But then we need to return it. So now within this function, we have to actually return that last value. And we shouldn't just say last value because, I mean, we can. Let's go ahead and save this. So if we come over here, let's see. This needs to be in quotes. There we go. So we're getting an error. Index 1 is out of bounds for axis 0. Let's see if it's working for the other ones. It is. So it looks like just the United States. And that's, again, because the state name isn't in there. I actually think I know a way to solve this. Let me try to write it out real quick. And if it works, then I'll just, kind of share the code with you. All right, guys, I figured it out. Took a little bit of reworking the logic because I had to combine where the country and the region type, which is right here. I had to, let me go way back over. I had to combine where the region type is country to here so that the United States could be here. So then we could select this last value right here. So you don't have to write all of that. Just go to the GitHub and you can download it. But it's going to pull that very last value. And so now when you have United States, it works. When you pick Arizona and everything like that. Now, the last thing we need to do before we actually return it, because some of these numbers are crazy long, we need to format it properly. So let's come right here. We're going to say F, and we'll do a $, and we'll say last value. Then we'll do a colon, comma, and then this is where we actually format the actual decimals here. So then we say 0F, then we'll close that right there. So let's look at this. So it should have that $, and format the decimal a little bit better. Let's take a look, and that looks really good. Now we're going to put that in a card in a little bit, but that value is what we want. And now we need another value, which is going to be the percent change for the home. And let's bring these down. So we already did that one. And now we need to get the home inventory percent change. That's going to be a lot easier. We can actually take this entire thing. We're not going to call it price. Whoops, we're not going to call it price. But we'll bring it here and we'll call this change. And the reason we need this is because we need to take the last value and calculate the change from the second last value. So this part's actually, not as hard. This is the last value. And we'll do right underneath it the second last value. And that's really easy because we're going to say that's equal to, and we can get rid of that. And it's just going to be a -2 here. So we're selecting the column before it or the row before it. And so now we just have to do our calculation. So now we do our %_change is equal to, and the calculation is last value minus the second last value. And then we divide that. Where's the divide? There we go. By the second last value. And then we multiply it times 100. Then we just need to wrap that all in little parentheses here. And then we can return the percentage change. And let's run this. And I'm not seeing the percentage change. I'm not seeing that because we didn't render it as a UI, of course. It's always the little things, you know what I mean? It's always the little things that get you. But let's see if it shows up now, and it should, I think, right beneath it. Okay, there it is right next to it. So it's a 1.8% change. We need to format that quite a bit better. So let's format this percentage change, and then we should really be doing good here. So we're going to come right here. We'll do the same thing, F, and then a double quote. And then we'll do our percentage change, colon, dot. We'll do 2F for this one. Then we'll do a close the squiggly brackets. That's what I like to call them. And then we'll do a %, and we'll close it. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. All right, so that looks a lot better. So now let's actually use these and format these and make them look really nice. Now we want these side by side. Like I'm thinking, this looks really good. I want one here and I want one over here. Now we can do that using something called a column wrap. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to say, let's actually come underneath here. We'll say with, and actually, no, I shouldn't do it. I should do it right here. So with UI.layout _ column _ wrap. So with this layout wrap, we're going to put this into a value box. So this is just saying we're going to put one next to another. Now we actually have to, put it in something. So we're going to say with UI dot, and we're going to put this in a value box. And we can label this value box, add different stuff, and maybe we'll do that in a little bit. But we just need to put this all over. So let's double tab this. There we go. And let's just run it and see if that works. And it looks like I need a colon here. Let's see if this works really quick. And saying we need a positional argument. In fact, I just realized that this is the second one. We need to put it up here. And then put this over twice. But we also need this another value box anyways. So we'll put this right here, and that's already there. Let's try running this. And within the value box, we're getting an error. Let me try something real quick. I'm going to write showcase is equal to, and I'm going to give it an icon. So I know this is something I've done in a previous one. We just need to do an icon. I'll do a dollar sign on this one. And let me copy this whole thing. We're going to give the other one a different thing. We're going to give this one a house. So let's say house right here. And we need to close that parenthesis, it looks like. All right, let's try running this. And I actually think a value is like a title. I don't even think we needed that. Let's give it this actual name. Let's give it this right here. I'm trying to click on this. Let's give it current median list price. And then we'll put this right here. And then I think this may be the value that it's looking for. Let's go ahead and try it. And there we go. Let's take a look. And that looks really, really good. Now, this is a 1.8% change, but it doesn't say if it's positive or negative because it could have gone down or up. Let's come back really quick into that percentage change, which should be right up here. Let's give it a sign. So we're going to say the sign is equal to, and we're going to give it a plus if that percentage change, let's bring that down right here. Whoops, I need to copy it. If the percentage change is greater than 0. So if it's a positive number, it'll be a positive. If it's not, we'll just say else. Maybe we'll give it a minus. But now we need to put that sign right over here. So we'll do this. Let's try running this. So let's take a look. Let's see what we got going here. Now, there's so many other things that we can do with this, but I think this looks really great already. But we could add different pages. We could add different colors. We've done a lot in this video. So, I could just keep going, but this looks like a really solid app, right? We can, people can come and click and they can filter the dates and the states. This is a very fully functional app right here. This is great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to deploy this. So let's come back over here to our PowerShell and do rs connect. We'll do shiny deploy -n, and then it's Alex the Analyst, and I need to spell it right. Alex the Analyst shiny app. And let's go ahead and deploy this. And there we go. So that looks really good. And I did that wrong. I got really, we need to deploy the shiny. That's it. Then I can copy this right here. All right, that should work now. And there we go. We have our fully functioning web app. This is great. I'm going to look at South. That's where I live. I live in South Carolina. I'm going to look at South Carolina really quick. 312,000 inventory is going up. So you can see from one to another, inventory is going up, but inventory has been going down. I don't know if you guys have been following the housing market, but this inventory has been going down. New listings, it's pretty cyclical with a lot of people over the summer will list their house, and so very cyclical. Very interesting. And then home pricing really going up over here. So this is really great. This is a fully functioning web app, and you can use this. I think you should build on top of this, keep going with it, add different pages, resources, different things, maybe different filters that people can do and incorporate it into your visualizations. But this is awesome. So if you were to get all this way, I know this was tough. And these projects, I could have made it a lot simpler. Could have been very, very basic, but I wanted to make it something that you could really use for your actual portfolio, your personal projects, because this is a tough one. But once you start really getting into it and you start, using Shiny, it all just makes a lot of sense. I feel like, I can go and build almost anything now. So I hope you enjoyed this. I really had a lot of fun making this and recording this, and I hope you did too. We ran into some errors and we got through it. And that's just all part of the fun. So huge shout out to Posit and making this awesome tool for us all to use. Really appreciate it. And if you haven't, go ahead and learn Shiny. Like, take this series and learn it and use it, because these kind of things are really, really awesome. So again, thank you for watching. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.